be happy and you'll be expecting to hear a lot from this topic, unlocking business opportunities with a new government in Ghana. And to do justice to the topic, we have a professor, another professor in our midst. And today we are really learning from the experts and the industry gurus. And so we have Professor Justice Bawole. Hey, he is a distinguished professor of the public administration and the dean of the University of Ghana Business School, Legon. He holds a PhD in development policy and management from University of Manchester. Papa say that say. Papa, continue.
Yes. Hello, praise God. Oh, hallelujah. Really exciting to find many people on a Saturday when it's either an adoring or funeral or picnic or something. But people defy that and come to try and talk about business. And I want to thank the leadership of the church for inviting us. This is the second time you have asked the University of Ghana Business School to be involved in your activities, and we don't take it for granted. Those of us who are members of the church see this happening only here. Even in my own church, we don't do this. And so, Graceland, you are a thought leader and shaping. And this is extremely important because I was just talking to Elder and I said something. I said, there's the difference between fasting and hunger. When someone is fasting and the church says, let's fast and pray, and somebody says they are fasting, it's a deliberate choice not to eat. When somebody is hungry, it is a deprivation of availability, which culminates in the response from the tummy that the tummy is empty. And the two are not the same. When people can't find anything to eat and are hungry, there is no amount of preaching that would enter their head. That's why the Bible says that if you found your brother hungry and you have something, give him. Don't say you are going to come back, because otherwise they are not going to listen. So when the church assembles its members and says, let's talk about how to enhance our well-being through business so that people don't go hungry, it's a very worthy cause. So I think you should put your hands together for church leaders, because this is extremely important. Thank you for inviting us again from the business school. On Thursday, Professor Chinibu Akodia was here. He's our head of department for marketing department and also an elder of the church at PIWC Atomic. Professor Dateba is not a member of our church, but he's a very good Christian that I have come to associate with. I work very closely with. He's the chair of my infrastructure committee, so he chairs the committee, and I believe him when I say we won't do this, any wrong thing. He is thinking the same way, so we are able to work together. And then me too, from the village you brought me. God bless you. I came with my last born, Precious. Precious, please give us a wave. Otherwise, she will want to sleep so much on Saturday, so I woke her up and said, come on, let's go. I've been asked to speak to the topic of unlocking business opportunities with a new government in Ghana. When governments change, things change. Your ability to position yourself, know what you can do to take advantage of government interventions is crucial in business sustenance in every country of the world. In fact, governments are the biggest single employer, single business, and I'll show very soon some figures that would point to that fact. So we will be looking at this very quickly. There's nothing that I will be talking about that you don't know. Everything that I will say here, you know. What I'm trying to do is to remind you of how important the things you know are, so that we can pay a bit more attention to them. So what are we trying to do to explore how new government policies create opportunities for Christian entrepreneurs and the church community? But I love this scripture, so I decided to show it. I'm not going to talk Bible. I'm not going to be talking the Bible today. I'm talking about business. In the end, you can ground it in Bible. But I love this scripture so much because it reminds me of how human I am, and that accomplishments never come by virtue of just connections. Connections are important, not by your schemes, not by knowledge. But it says, remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. So we will do well in the end. You didn't shout amen. We will do well in the end. But when we do well, it is not because we are superhuman. Because there are some people who have better degrees. There are people who have better connections. There are people who are even in government and all of that. So in the end, it is our God who would move us and place us in places where we can find wealth through business. I don't think that I need to talk to you a lot because your presiding elder is a very clear example of how this is. And I'll say a few things that he's been doing. I'm not sure if many of you know that Dr. Sian Japon is just one of very smart business people who think ahead government actions. So he sees, for example, you people can see the sea behind you. When government says we are going to push this, the next morning, Dr. Japon has an excellent proposal written by who he has assembled, who know the job. They write a proposal to let us tell government how we will be the best to push the sea back. And he gets the business, and people are complaining. But we will see soon that if you have to be ahead of your peers in business, you must do a few things, and we'll talk about that as we go on. Now, note that governments all over the world will deliver goods, services, and works through the sector. Governments across the world. In fact, those of us who studied public administration, there's a topic in public administration called the growth of government, or if you like, the growth of the size of government. And the argument is that government size would increase all the time. And the size of government, we are not talking about the reduction in ministers. We are talking about the portfolio of activities that governments get engaged in. And it will continue to increase because individuals' interests and demands, citizens' demands, keep changing. A few years ago, there was nothing like AI. And so government was not bothered about anything called AI. Today, there is AI. If you go to the police headquarters, there's a new team of young men and women, police people, who are trained. The ministry now has to take responsibility for AI moderation, AI whatever. So, the desires and the changing trend and taste of citizens puts pressure on government, and government responds to those states, because government doesn't respond, they are out of government. So they will respond. And the key response is to deliver a service, deliver some works. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, governments do not produce the service themselves. And so in the end, governments would rely on the sector, the private sector, to deliver these goods. So governments rely heavily on private businesses. Therein comes Graceland, PIWC Graceland. Is there something I have to do? Okay. The microphone. Thank you so much. So therein comes private business people in PIWC Graceland. That is where you connect with the government. The demands of citizens are increasing. Government is under pressure to continue to respond to those. And government will not deliver the services itself. Government will rely on private sector people. And if government will rely on private sector people, where are you to be relied on? That's what we're talking about today. Like I said, there's nothing new in this. And why would the government use private sector people? A number of reasons, as you can find. The private sector is said to be efficient, and they have a lot of expertise. And the reason is that government itself, and if you noticed, literally every government enterprise, what we call state-owned enterprises, have failed. In the developing world, in fact, there's something we refer to as globalization of public administration. If you go to the UK, those days it was His Royal Majesty Train Postal Office. They have sold, or British Gas, they have sold all of them. And they convinced the World Bank to force us to do the same. And the World Bank succeeded in forcing us to do the same because our businesses were also failing. All state-owned enterprises. Nkrumah set up literally state-owned everything. State Hotels Limited, I'm not sure if anybody knows. State housing, state farms, state apeteshikra, not state here. Gihok Distilleries. It's apeteship. State did literally everything. Go to Tema, those of you who are in Tema. Tema Shipyard, all of those. GPHA. Look at it. Even the planning of the Tema Township, everything the Nkrumah started up. In my village in Yeji, where I was born, they had a cattle ranch. So the state had cattle. And in Atebubu, there was a meat marketing board. So the cattle from Yeji are caught and brought to Atebubu to be slaughtered and packaged, and they prepare corned beef and all of those. So the state did literally everything. Matches, glass, everything. You talk about it. Sugar, everything. Radio, everything the state produced. But you and I collapse everything. Hello? So the state is not interested any longer. So you would find the latest privatization that was discussed was just before the election when Honorable Brian Achampon attempted to buy some state hotels. You remember those? State hotels and all of that. Those of you who know what used to be called Golden Tulip, it's now Lancaster Hotel. Everything is gone. So the state is unable, and the reason the state is unable is the reason of our success. If the state doesn't do it, we can deliver. So there is efficiency in the private sector. There's expertise in the private sector. The cost of delivering technical skills, innovation, everything. The savings that private people will make, government sectors are not able to do so. There's also the issue of capacity gaps. Many public agencies do not have the capacity that is required because they don't pay people well. So usually that becomes an issue. And because of that, the state lacks the interest in entering and being able to. And the last, but one point, as you can see there, is the speed and scale of production. also cost effectiveness. So these reasons have actually culminated into the reason why government will always use private sector. And everywhere in the world, governments now rely on the private sector to deliver business. And because of that, if you are here and you haven't thought about doing anything government or business with government, you should think about it. Because the environment in which we operate, the private sector is limited. The capacity of the private sector is actually limited. In fact, if you have checked, you would find that the business quantities or volumes that you can get from private sector supplies is very minimal if you compare to government. But how does government engage us, private sector players? How does government engage us? Number one, through public procurement, where government would procure stuff from us. Number two, through public-private partnerships, where government will want to work with us to do something or to deliver a service. Or through the fact that government will give us subsidies or grants for us to do something that government would typically not want to do. And then the last one, through leases or management contracts. And leases and management contracts are not too common in Ghana. The last time we had a significant conversation around leases and management contract was when we sold Vodafone. At the time, it was Ghana Telecom. Was it Ghana Telecom? One Touch. We brought in some, I don't know whether it was Turkish or some two people to come and manage. You grow small, you grow small. So here government has a facility. Government says, I do not have the competence to manage it. I want a group of people who have competence or a company that has competence to manage it. The last time we also attempted it was when we tried to divest our water production. Vitor, right? Yes. So Ghana Water was going to be handed over to a group of experts who know how to manage water management systems in countries to manage. That's a lease. In recent times, I don't know which one we have done again. Electricity, we attempted something. We attempted something in electricity also, which didn't work. And I tell you, a few of these haven't worked because, as usual, our politicians would always want to slot in a lot of costs for themselves. And when you deal with international business partners, in their countries, if you misbehave here and you do something, they will catch you in your home country. You are in trouble. So when they come and they have offers and government wants add, and they don't add, then the thing doesn't work. So a lot of times that has been our challenge. But these are the 4 ways by which governments would engage the private sector. So if you are here, you will want to ask yourself the question, where do you want to belong? Do you want to supply to government through procurement? Do you want to partner government to deliver a service government can't do well? Do you want a grant or a subsidy from government to do something that you want to do? Or you want a lease or a management contract? You want to provide service to some people? Right. These are 4 ways that you can engage. So it mustn't be that you already have a business and you can engage in this. If you do not have a business and you are thinking about setting up a business, and it can be a small scale business, it doesn't have to be a big. One of these will be the areas that you will fall under. Globally, governments present huge business opportunities. And these run into trillions of dollars. $13 trillion US dollars annually spent by governments. And local businesses can grow, employ people, and innovate around this 13 trillion. the amount $100,000 scrap, your business is sorted out of that. And following the conversation that we just had, if you position yourself well from Professor Dateba, and you are noted for being an ethical business that supplies great things, you will do well. I'll give you a story. The business school is currently painting our 2 buildings. The one on main campus, those of you who know Legon, near Water Hall. And then the one around the UPSA junction, and we are building a 3rd one. The gentleman who won the contract, when they won the contract, they said they were going to come in to see me. And the things I don't do in my life is to meet suppliers and contractors who do business with us. I don't want to meet you. But I was in the office in the evening. And then the man came, my secretary came to tell me, I asked, who is that? He says, the contractor. Which contractor? The one doing the painting. So what does he want? So I asked that they should let him in. Oh, I came to greet you. I said, okay, thank you. And I told him, like I tell all the contractors, in this contract, you are not giving 1 CD to anyone, not me, not anybody who works here. If I hear that you have given 1 CD to anybody who works with me, I will cancel the contract and I will chase you to the police. And when I have told you that, what it means is that if you mess up with the contract, I'll come after you. Then he smiled, thanked me, and left. And then he's done, finished the building, he started the other one. And then he had a problem with my accounts people, took some tax from him. He says it wasn't, so he came back to talk to me about it. And then when he came, he says, Prof, I thank you so much. Because you insisted that we should do a good job. When I haven't finished this, when people saw the building, they said, who is the painter, the contractor who did this? And then Issa gave me a contract. Rips gave me a contract. Other people are talking to me and they want to give me a contract. And I told him, once you get all of those contracts, I expect you to come and donate Smart Boss to the business school so that we can put it in our lecture halls out of the profit you are making. And then he laughed and went away. The point I'm making is that if your business is hinged on ethics, you will get more business. Because, and let me be, and I teach ethics, so I use weird examples sometimes. The men who I have a little girl. The men who have young girls like my girl, she's 14. In June, she'll be 15. And you have a friend who you know is a bad man. And you are traveling. And you must leave your girl child. Hello? Have I offended anybody? Have I communicated? It is the same way that business people do. When they are looking for people to work with, when they are looking for people to supply things to them, even when they are crooked, they are looking for good people. Hello? And that's where you will survive. Let's come back to Ghana. We're looking at government and the size of government budget. Is there anybody who has taken this year's 2025 budget? Anybody has looked at that document? Great. So, if you are in business, when the finance minister is reading the budget, you should sit down like a student in class with pen and paper and you are writing. And look for that document. You go to the website of Ministry of Finance, you can download the full budget, not the budget speech, the full budget, which gives you all the things. Ghana's budget this year, it's over 226 billion cedis. Look at the breakdown. And I picked just a few highlights. Education is taking 24 billion. Health, 15 billion. Look at infrastructure. Look at agriculture. And I've heard people complain that agriculture, 10 billion, the budget for agriculture is small. It's not enough to push. So if you are here and you are looking for business and you can't find business in these, then let's go and swim. In this one, you should find business. I was asked to talk about how you can, and I mean, up to 70% of the government budget goes through public procurement, goods, works, and services. 70%. That's nearly 150 billion. That's going to be available. The rest of the money, they will eat it. The one that they will use to pay themselves, they will use to ride their cars. Even the cars they will buy, you can supply. Several things. And what do? They are going to be contracting over 500 public institutions are going to be issuing contracts out through their ministries, agencies, and state-owned enterprises, and they are going to be dealing with hundreds and thousands of private sector businesses. I'm sure for a number of us, when we hear government, all we have thought about is the ministries, agencies, and departments. But if you check the SIGA website, SIGA is the State Interest and Governance Authority website. They are in charge of all the businesses of government. So the ports, all of those that are into business, all of them report through that entity. And if you go there and you check, if you go to the ministries and you check, in fact, us, business school, I raise on an annual basis, I raise between 77 and 88 million cedis, business school alone, from my special program. The undergraduate folks can, I know, university takes that. The regular people who do MBA, MPA, PhD during the day, that money doesn't come to me, it goes to the university. My evening classes, weekend classes, and my sandwich classes, I raise on annual basis between 77 and 88 million cedis. And we spent all of that money. That's just IGF, so that's not even captured here. And there are several other entities that raise resources like that and spend them. I'm going to be buying vehicles. The building we are building, the first set of it, the core and shell, was 145 million cedis. Those doing the air conditioning, we just finished the contract, it's about 11 million or so. The air conditioning. Those who are going to do the IT-related stuff, and supply and all of that. That's what I tell people. So say you crowd 10%. Think about 10%. But what Christian would I be? That I go to class and teach students not to do wrong, and the first I do is to do wrong. But I'm talking about the fact that if you are a business person here and you haven't taken government seriously. Now, our topic says when governments, there's a new government. And the reason why when there's new government, it's almost like there's a severe earthquake. So there's a shaking of the system. So new things are happening. So even if you did not have, this is the time to start pushing. Before you realize you have landed some 10 million contract. Would you owe me a 3 million profit? Oba now be 300,000 tighter. Sorry, I had the Sorry, I had the a Graceland. I will say with this car can have FSC. Money is good, though. Don't tell my university. But in the university, because I am a business school dean, everywhere I go, when I speak, people listen. I'm just watching over the university. But because when you talk, people listen. Your colleagues come to you, they are begging for something. Oh, dean business school, your cars now you used to 10 years, 15 years cars now. Me say me person. Obia babun kotoje say I should dash that car so that they will go. And the way when they get that car, the way they are happy and Charlie, Somebody, I know I say we are catching up say cash. How we would say cash is good. You see, me my church crowd we don't have this. You call me here. You come and do me show like this. What the hell? Next time what happened to you? We are say I'm better than you are. What are some of the areas that you would find government entities that you can look at? And I picked a couple of examples. The roads and highways area, construction, infrastructure. I had a friend, all he did was to follow contractors when they construct bridges. All he does was when they finish constructing the bridge, he will be the one to fill up the soil around the bridge. So my bridge in a then they will give him a subcontract. Then he will go and rent an excavator. No, they are between Anyana Google Bridge, now a ramp said a bear and suita. What the blog at Tatari home. And he drove a V8. Hello. I have one of my young men in our district, East Legon. For a very long time, he was struggling to survive, looking for a job. Then we went to Saika one day for a meeting, and when we were coming, I came with him and I said, but have you looked at the construction sector? Today, he doesn't do much. He doesn't own anything. He goes round, and if he sees a new construction, I see there's a construction near you. He has negotiated with a concrete producing company. So, onya we are no amabeka, you better supply him concrete. Why? We see, Eda, me sit 3 bedroom, mama, papa, Kumasi area muho, because Ulman wa breme hundodo. Upana is building already for the family. And when he mentioned the figures, how much he made, he doesn't own anything. He hasn't registered a business. He just goes round. He sees somebody's new construction coming up. So, I work for this company. I show you, we can supply you concrete, when you are ready, then so that you don't have to set up your concrete mixing facility. Then you get, the company says, okay, if you get this is your percentage. No, I take boko. Kacha say, Upana, Otia. I saw this about 10%. No, I don't know. Look at it. The education sector. Literally from construction to supply of food to books to printing to whatever. If you go into the health sector, literally everything you can think about. Have you gone to the hospital before and thought about the amount of supplies that are used in the hospital setting? Go to the local government sector. And you go there, this year, maybe there's a figure that will show how much they are getting. And the government has a key interest now on youth employment. And there's going to be a number of initiatives coming from there. A repetition of a sort of this, but it tells you in a bit more detail what you can find there. Now I want to show you a bit more breakdown. I've been given a consulting assignment to do work for some NGO, and the assignment is to do a budget analysis. So it's a youth-focused NGO, and they asked me to look at the budget. So it was first to do the manifestos of the political parties. Look at the manifestos of what we call it political sensitivity analysis. So I do sensitivity to see the extent to which political parties have put things about the youth in their manifesto. And now NDC has won. So NDC has come out with the first budget. They say track them. they made these promises. Track them, let's see how much of those promises they made they have committed to, either by policy or by finance. And part of that work, I extracted all the major government commitments using my AI analyzer. And I tell them, the young people, because what they are doing is that they are using that to train young people to hold government accountable. And I use this expression, follow the money, as an interesting reminder to the young people that if you want to monitor anything, follow where the money goes. But that is even more apt for business people than it is for people who just want to hold government accountable. So for business people, follow the money. What did I say? Again? Only the ladies. And the guys. Wow. Your voice is not deep. Oh. Follow the money. And to follow the money, you must identify where the budget says the money is going to go. And when appropriations are passed, when the budget is read, there's a second leg of it, which is appropriations. That is when a law is actually made. So this is called a government financial policy. The president signs to say you can now spend. But before then, entities have to go and defend their budget with the parliament and all of that. So once they go through that and they sign the appropriations bill, that becomes a document that if you're a business person, you should look out to. Of course, in Africa, in Ghana, we suffer from what we call budget credibility, which is that when we say we will spend 10,000, we usually do not spend all the 10,000. And it is because we base the estimation of the 10,000 on a certain revenue expectation. We hope that we are going to collect certain amount of money and then we will spend. Often governments are not able to raise that much. So you will see that what is approved is actually less than how much actually gets spent, because kind of ebiniho. But in all cases, you would find that even the agencies that get less would get at least 50%, 70% of budgeted amounts disbursed to them for use. So if you want to be conservative, when we are talking about 226 billion, you want to be conservative and say, well, maybe not all of that money will go, you reduce it a bit. It still makes a lot of sense to chase governments and government projects because the money is there. So follow the money. These are highlights from the budget. You heard about the big push. That's an infrastructure project. So government wants to spend 13 billion on infrastructure budget to expand infrastructure, road infrastructure, whatever. Look at, even for universities, no academic fees, free SHS, all of that hidden in there. Look at distribution of sanitary pads. So our elder was talking about when they did Indomie, right? But so if you were a producer of or an importer of sanitary pads, assuming that we have a group of young people here who have innovated on how to produce local sanitary pads, and they don't have to import, and they can make a case, and government says supply. See how much money you are going to be doubling in. Don't fight with the big boys. Just go and pick one small region, like my region, the north or BA, and then you focus there and supply. You are fine. So you got to be able to follow the money. Check. Free SHS. Check. Textbooks. Textbooks alone. See, 560 something million Ghana cedis. Look at school feeding. Those of you who are into catering services, look, and supply of food. 1.7 billion. Look at capitation grant, again, in education.
Look at teacher training allowances. What can you innovate around that? Me, I went to training college. I trained as a teacher. And we used to get, when we are on holidays, 3 months, they pay you your 3 months allowance. We call it triple jump. You think and craft something for teachers, young teachers. They are going home. They are getting triple jump. You craft something nice. Then everybody will drop it inside. Then you give them something and they go home. They will be happy. Look at National Health Insurance. Look at the LEAP program. The LEAP program is Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty. It's a program, a cash transfer program that gives money to poor people in neighboring, in communities that are described as poor. Follow the money. Look at the road fund and how much they are going to be getting. 2.8 billion. Look at the District Assembly Common Fund. How much is estimated? 7.5 billion. So that money, your district is going to get their share of that money here. And if you go up into other regions, look at agriculture. 1.5 billion. And look at Women's Development Bank. So these are highlights of the budget. Look at. And I say follow the money. So depending on what you like to do or what you are doing or what you're thinking that you can do, there's enough money budgeted for. You just have to find a way of getting into this. National Apprenticeship Program. So those of you who are into TVET related stuff. The Ejumariwa program is also, I think it relates to agriculture. 100 million, something. Look at national coders. So those of you in IT, they're going to be training 1 million youth to code, to learn coding. Positioning yourself. Even assemblymen are going to get allowance. 100 million. It's a lot of money. But what do you require to be able to pitch into this? You must have a business first and foremost, and you must have registered your business. So please register your business. Register your business with the Registrar General Department, which we all know. As I said, I'm not saying anything new. You can register as a sole proprietor. You can register as a partnership, as a limited liability company. And there are two of that, and companies limited by guarantee. So those of you who want to do NGO-related stuff, you register as a company limited by guarantee. You also have to register with the Registrar General's Ghana Revenue Authority. So you can get your tax identification number. Today, once you register your company, they will give a tax identification number. You too have your tax, you register with VAT. And you have to ensure that you have your tax filings and payments. Keep all the records. Because I tell you, the GRA people now, they are very wild. Because they too have targets. And when they meet their target, they get money. So they will come chasing you. Please keep your records. You have to register with SNIT once you start employing people, including yourself. And the reason is that they want to be sure that you are paying the SNIT contribution for people. And that's one of the things that these, in fact, so you are here, Elder, if you appear before me and say, oh, business school, we want to supply to you. Even if I loved you and I gave you a contract and you don't have any of this, you will finish delivery and we can't pay you. Because the auditors won't allow us to pay you. So don't be in a hurry to get a verbal order. People you know. And you are in a hurry, you go and borrow money and go and buy things and go and supply. When you don't have this, they can't pay you. In fact, if they pay you, when the external auditors come, they will ask that the money should be surcharged to you. So, if you have to be able to follow the money and you can pluck some of it, please, you need to have these basic requirements. And I tell you, these are not all. You go to the various sectors that you operate in. You have to register with PPA. Make sure that you have your PPA supply number. And make sure that you renew your registration every year. It's very important. You renew your registration every year. And depending on which sector you are, you also have to. So it's a bit bureaucratic, but I tell you, it's doable. And as we go on, we will discuss at some point how to be able to deal with this. So if you are in the construction industry, you have to go and register with Ministry of Works and Housing. If you are in education, especially on training, and you have to register with TVET and GTEC. If you are in health related, you have to register with FDA, Ghana Health Service, and HEFRA. If you are, HEFRA is Health Facilities Regulatory Authority. So if you run a clinic or anything that has to do with health, you have to register with them. And then your standards authority, Environmental Protection Agency, and if you are in ICT related, you must go to Ministry of Communications. And there are a lot more. If you deal in agricultural products, you must go to Ministry of Agric. So, whilst following the money looks good, all of that. To be able to do it well, you must make sure that you are properly covered. Sometimes this looks very inundating for, ordinary person. Me person me business kakrebi we be swear. But you can manage it. Ensure that you are complying and keeping records. Build your own capacity. Attend procurement workshops and expos. That's why I'm happy with this. Extremely happy with this. So that you can sell a bit. But the good thing is that you get to show a lot more people what you are doing. So the next time somebody has a wedding, engagement or something, they know that Auntie B can produce the best sobolo in town. And join trade associations. Submit proposals. So that's the other thing that you need to watch out. So if you are chasing the money, you need to know periods that agencies make procurement. And the way that we behave, our budget is an annual budget. So if you wait till December and you start chasing a contract, the tendency that either the budget would have been used up already, or that if you got that contract, you cannot be paid in this budget. It's very high. So you got to know when to time government procurements and plug in at the right time so you can get your money. And I talk about trade associations because it's extremely important. You go there and you listen to mistakes people have made. So Sobolo Producers Association of Ghana, they have a seminar. Please go there and sit down and listen, because you will notice some of the things that people have done and failed. That's one of the things that I as Dean of Business School, I feel very worried about. Because if you pass every neighborhood, every meter you can find a shop, either a table shop, everybody, and check. Every one of them is closed down, is deserted, is empty, or it has somebody sitting in who is so frustrated because they cannot sell. And the reason is that everybody thinks doing business is very easy. So if somebody doesn't succeed in doing anything, Marco, business. I tell you, doing business is like removing the teeth of an elephant. It's very tough. You saw the list of things you have to do to be able to properly do. So you need to learn. Please, don't follow the optics. Somebody is doing pure water. Hey, pure water, there's Sikawomu. Before you realize the next day, everybody is pure water. Meanwhile, the person who is jumping into has not even spoken to the pure water seller. Where you know that when you start selling pure water, the Standards Board will come after you. Food and Drugs Authority will come after you. And the frustrations, you can go through that. So I beg you, don't just listen to people who know. Go to them, ask them questions, seek advice, look for support before you put your money into anything. I have a young colleague who said he wanted to do, I should be closing soon, who said he wanted to go and get government contracts for cocoa roads. So he went to talk to one of the people in the urban feeder roads. And then the man says, go and talk to this person. And he mentioned the name of the person you should go and talk to. He said, contractor. So my TA went to talk to them, and the man said, Charlie, don't go there, don't go there. They said, why? He says, I got one cocoa road project. By the time that I left Accra to go to the district, the money was actually gone already. The money was finished. And when he got to the district, the party chairman, the DCE, the presiding officer, the assemblyman, the chief, the youth leader, what's what just scanning in Asa Afedia? Scan or the Bayer Quino. Asa. And then he told my boy, I said, Mikodru, or next can I send him a sayaba. Now, me tea, me try Quasiabia, listen to the language you. Me try Quasiabia or Baba catch him something quiet. But you see, so there are tricks in there. You need to speak with people who know. Don't jump in. Speak to people who know. Gather information before you, especially government contracts. And let me add that every election year is a very high spending year for every government. So if you check our economic indicators, every election year we destroy the indicators because we spend we spend more than we earn. The danger, though, is that if you are going to be supplying or doing business with government in an election year, be careful that you get your money before elections. Hello? And yet, nasa election na ebona ejita. Na party na will supply. They are no longer in government. Forget it. So, if we are saying to deal with government, because there's a change in government now, you are going to go in. You know people. You might be able to, you may be a party person. You can get things to do. Excellent. I encourage us, especially Christians, to go in there and do some of the business and get some of the money, because we too, we belong here. But please pay attention. And leverage on your network, especially the Christian network. Start small. And you know, when you gave the example, that a man said that you should have faced, a bit of pilot and all of that. Especially if it's a new area. Because of course, there are people who have a lot of money, they can do big things. The Dangote type, he wants to do a refinery, boom, one big one. But I tell you, if you know how much money goes into it. So start small. My brother who comes directly after me comes to me one day and says he didn't go to school. He's a carpenter. And I've been urging him to stay in that and do, because he can get money there. One day he came to me and said he wants to do supply business. I said, what supply? He wants to buy coke and do depot and supply. Then I asked him, have you worked in a depot before? No. I said, do you have someone who have worked in a depot before? He says, no. I said, but how did you conclude that? And that young man there, recently he just started and he's making a lot of money. And I say, if you have your own money and you want to go and do supply, go and do. Me, you have never lifted a crate of coke before. You want me to teach and take my teacher salary teacher salary na ubika teacher Bawole me see next month so say what dia. So that you can go and use to experiment, please. It's very risky to do that. And I get problems with a lot of our church people. If the person is not doing anything, me person me starting business and I'm starting me soap. No, meanwhile, you have never looked at any supply chain system. Who are you producing the soap for? Liquid soap. Who is going to buy? How much do they buy? I beg you, please do a bit of research, find out. You would see that sometimes people are putting their monies into it, they are not making any profit. But just to keep the business running, they keep sinking money into it. Don't go and sink your money like that. You can use your money for something better. So please search before you do. Professionalize your business over time. And here I say seek advice on many things. Look for a lawyer to explain to you a bit of challenges. Sometimes you have to pay them. Look for accounts people who can prepare your accounts for you. Today, once you start business and you have a location and you register it, the guys are going to come after you. So you have to make sure that you have very good record keeping. Get consultants who understand the area. If it's agri, speak to someone. If it is IT, speak to someone. If you intend to start importing things, speak to someone. Because the pot can really mess you up big time. Consult state agencies, because in most cases, there are professionals who have been appointed as people to provide advice. For example, you want to enter into agric. Go to the district agric office. There are agric extension officers who are paid, who are in fact sitting down doing nothing really because government is not finding work for them. They don't have anything to do. And just go there and tell them, I want to start a small business. And I tell you that thing that the president said that people laughed over it. If you are here and your house has small space B, like the way our instrumentalists are, if you have any small space like this, start doing please. Because I'm looking for space now. My house, where I live on campus, there's no enclosed area, so I'm struggling. But I went to visit a colleague in UCC. He has a 2-plot land, and he built in one corner, and he put up a security gate, and he had no security yet. So he says he was there. He said, somebody came selling chicks. This brofo and G50 good security Anche biana nkokwa no to wane no yere no no omo wibi no omo ton bi. We call watchura good X for sale. Chicken for sale. Hey. Papa na afa dia wadani poultry farmer yi. Was say the for my bia ton bi san afa che say and wa sit down fufro inside was sit down for no akwaji 100 abegum. Ube papa no we pam na yere ne ba betra bontin what in the fear obeye. So please, if you have space, but speak to the experts. If you go to the ministries, you go to the agencies, go to the district assembly. We have business advisory people there. They are paid to do that. They don't even have anything to do. Go to the Ghana Enterprises Agency. They have experts there who will talk to you. Sometimes you just need to give them something small and say thank you and all of that. Seek also volunteers. It's not every time that you have to employ people and pay them. Our universities are looking for people to give our students opportunity to do internship. Obi and the transport. And they'll come and work for you free. There are a number of them. You want to do national service, they pay them 700. If you make a request, you pay national service 700 and you pay 10% of it to hey, now I'm going to do 700. Now 599. They say do 700. Okay. Charlie, why the power? National service. And there are international volunteers. if you have a phone that has internet, check UNV. UNV is the United Nations Volunteer Program. They recruit volunteers from across the world. So you can sit here and request a volunteer from Afghanistan. The UNV program, once they select the person and they approve your request, they will pay them their air tickets, the money they will eat here, what they will sleep, whatever, every cost is taken care of. They will just come and work for you free and go back. And you can keep them for months, depending on their availability. And in some cases, these are people who have expertise, have retired, and they are not active. They don't have anything to do. They just want to go to communities and donate their time. And you can get that for free. So check that, you will find that. And that you can also partner other businesses and organizations to save costs. It's not everything you should do alone. You are an architect here. It's difficult to roll alone. Look for a civil engineer. Look for another person. You put yourselves together. And everybody contributes something. And then you are able to. So look for and professionalize your business. Let it be serious thing. Anything that you spend a whole day on or your entire life on, please take it serious. And it is like that in every profession. Those of us who are lecturers, if you come there are lecturers who are very excellent lecturers. But they don't take their publication serious. Into Accra, there are 20 years, or I see a doctor. But if you take your work serious, every 3 years you can move. So from lecturer to senior lecturer to associate professor to professor. No happen. And it's like that in every game. The last time I was here, I was speaking to the church about the 10,000-hour rule, which says that, anybody has read that book, The Outlier? Read it. The second chapter of that book is titled The 10,000-Hour Rule. And it says that to rise up in every field, to be on top of that field, you should have spent 10,000 hours minimum practicing. So, you cannot be a successful businessman if you have not committed a lot of energy, time, thinking and going through. A student is the same thing. Students now more hano. That's it. Me in secondary school, if you took my notebook or my pamphlet and you open to a page, I'll ask you, read the first sentence. If you read the first sentence, I will continue to the end. Because now and it is the same thing in you invest in your business, you put time in there, you do it well, you commit, you will succeed. What empire kakra one? Oh, nafa. Hallelujah. How can the church support? Your church is doing that, so no need to talk about this. Create business directorates. One of the things that I don't like about our church, and Eda said it earlier, we know ourselves as church members, but people don't even know where people work. People don't even know what business people do. In my church in East Legon, you will find very small boys and girls. Charlie, medical doctor this, engineer this. If you don't talk to them, you see the one who crowd Bob Bieniso, not what about medical doctor Bieniso. Say the woman getting kitty power. Where the deeper getting kitty. So please talk to people. Explain, meet somebody and talk to them. Mention your name to them and say, this is who I am. I work here. This is who I am. This is business I do. If you have a card, give him. You never know. It's probably God that when you come and say, we are so bolo, because party. And all of that. And it's very simple. You can clean a clean deal. So churches should help to do that. And that is why I talked about hunger and fasting. Because Anyasana, those of you who have to eat, you eat. And when you want to fast, you fast. And those of us who don't have, and we are hungry. Na come out to me, son. Not me to watch you from me fasting. Mafu, over here you at it. The last one. The last one. Whatever you do, Professor Dr. said that our church must not only pray, we must participate. What did I say? We must participate. Because this is the time for the kingdom-minded people, businesses, to rise. Don't allow the other people to take over the heart and soul of this nation through business. Because the more they get ahead of us, the more they dictate how our country should get run. If you play business and you play it well, you can get into the government and get government contract and do it well. We will have, and that's why I do work with government. I want to enter there and do it well, so that I can prove that when I enter there, I did it and I did it well. So that if somebody else doesn't do it well, it will be clear. You don't have to speak. God bless you. Amen.
All right, please let's give Pastor Professor a round of applause. Papa, thank you. God bless you. We will take 5 questions, 3 first and 2 last. Please, who will start? Papa, I have a question here. I should wait. Pastor. Before the question. Okay. All right. So please, kindly pardon us. We will just postpone the question just within a short time. Apostle Felix, our resident minister, Papa is here. Let's put our hands together as we receive him to give us a word. Apostle, God bless you.
Teacher Bawole. Oh. Let's put our hands together for Teacher Bawole. We want to bless God for our dear professors who God is using to bless us in many ways. An assignment took us to Suhum area, and so we returned very early in the morning. Right now, I have to be at PIWC condition. But I wanted my boss to know that together with the team, we really appreciate them. If you can, let's rise and just bless God for their lives. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Prof, on behalf of the district executive and on behalf of my presiding elder, Dr. Sian Japon, we want to say we really appreciate you and we salute you and the team for your precious time given to us without any charge. That's one thing about Prof and the whole team. I know that they will not do this for anybody for free because they also have families that they need to feed. But they have never charged us for these conferences. Let's bless God for them. Let's bless God for them. And that is one thing we want to state on record and really appreciate them. And so I know that I have next 2 months' salary. So I will not talk plenty. Teacher Bawole. God bless you, Prof. God bless you. God bless you. And let me appreciate the organizing team led by Eda Pepra for the wonderful work. When I was coming, watching online, the whole world, everybody is watching Graceland. And this is the doing of the Lord. And through their effort, together with the other team members seated behind, we really appreciate you. And we say, God bless you. Tomorrow is going to be big, by God's grace. Because everybody coming to church, we all go around to see whatever is being displayed. And by God's grace, Pen TV will be picking us, so you'll be going international. And so just trust God for that. So we want to say we really appreciate you and God bless you. And we are trusting God that God will cause your businesses to flourish. And you go bigger and bigger and bigger. And I will see you at the top because that's where you belong. God bless you. Eda Dentry, please take over.
Hey, what's your next month's salary?
So, Papa, you can still.
Yes, please. Apostle, God bless you. God bless you.
Papa, I have a question.
Yes.
The first question I want to ask is, we have heard about pre-financing of government contracts.
Yes.
You need to have money to pre-finance it.
Yes.
I was listening to the engineering, among the contractors, the association, the president of the Association of Contractors in Ghana, and I think I read an article he wrote that most of the contractors, most of them have died because they pre-financed government construction infrastructural projects, and then they didn't get what they actually were due, and it caused most of them to die, over 100 of them, and he was lamenting. And so it's an issue, pre-financing it. You put your money in it, and it becomes something else. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, who else? Yes, madam.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, as a small business owner, I've invested a lot in a physical location, and then it's draining me now because one of them I've closed it down. So how do I go about it? As in investing in physical location, now I have 3 shops, and then one is draining me. I don't know where to offload the goods to because the other shop is kind of full, so it's a bit challenging for me right now. And then employing other people too. Sometimes when you employ them, they complain a lot of salary, and I'll be like, even university graduates are taking 700 for salary, so how do you expect me to pay you more than that? So please, I need a little information about that. Thank you.
We'll take the last person for the first round. Ada.
Prof, as for me, I know your office. I have your number.
Yes, sir.
So I can come there anytime.
Yes, please.
But there are people who have proposals for which sometimes they need another professional eye or proposal credibility. Now, how expensive? I want to break a barrier.
Yes.
How expensive is it to come to the business school and say that, business school people, this is what I want. Munshe Mumami, can we afford? Or how can you people help us if people want to approach? Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let me begin from yours. So like Apostle said, we too, we are human, we have to feed families, so people will charge to do and provide services. But we have, we've set up what we call the Innovation and Incubation Hub. And in our Innovation and Incubation Hub, we do a lot of things. Some of those are actually funded by organizations, so we can do those things for free. For example, our teams have been working across regions in Ghana, supporting women entrepreneurs on how to improve their productive activities. And we actually recently got money to construct maker spaces in 3 regions where women can bring their products there and get help and all of that. So we have the Innovation Hub, and the essence of the Innovation Hub is for the business school to be able to support industry, support businesses. But our main focus actually is to train our own students on how they would leave the place and know how to start and manage a business. But as part of our corporate social responsibility, we provide support, advisory services to small businesses. If the business can afford it, we require that they pay. We take them to our next business model, which is the executive development unit. In the executive development unit, we actually provide paid for services. So we would bring a team of consultants to come and do an analysis of your business and provide. And we do that for several, and we train. We train Parliament, we train Total, we train Nestle, there are companies that have standing agreement with us, and every year they bring us people and we train them and all of that. And we send our teams out. When you make a proposal to us, we will typically look at the business. And then we will give you a charge. We do the diagnostics and we give you a charge. And we'll select the experts who can help you to deliver what you want to do. And literally everything you can find as ability to do that. So if there are people who are small businesses, my advice would be to direct them to our innovation hub, where we also have we have coaches, people who are in business and they have agreed that they will serve as coaches for us. So when you come, we would assign you to one of the coaches who will take you through what your challenges are and to help you to do what you have to do. But if you have money, we require that you give us money also. But if it's a small business, it's a startup, it's a young person struggling, the place is open 24/7. There are young people there who work. There's even space you can sit and work and all of that. We have their design rooms, and we are expanding actually. So those are the things that I can say currently. There are also a number of us in the business school who, because of what we do, we are able to support businesses without taking money. I do a lot of pro bono services to companies but I always will tell them, if you have money to pay us also. Because sometimes they have money to pay, they will call you do it for free, and they will give money to another person who will do it. And many times I've gone to correct some very stupid things some people have done and taken a lot of money away. And then you go and correct it, and they want you to do it for free. That is painful. But otherwise, the advice is that reach out to our innovation hub. I can share the contact with you. You see the things that they do. And if there are groups that want them to even come here and engage, we will engage. One of the things I found, which is a weakness, is that they tend to go out of Accra rather than in Accra. So it will be a good opportunity for Graceland if you have a group of women or young people who want to be taken through business processes, including, for example, how to register your business, how to do your tax compliance, and all of that. We have a team of all of those people who can support. So that's what I would recommend for people who don't have money and who still need help. That's part of our corporate social responsibility. Thank you. Madam, physical locations are a big deal, and it's unfortunate that you are in there already. But otherwise, in today's world, you actually do not need a lot of physical location to be able to do good business. I'm not sure how many of you know the Jumia brand. You know Jumia? I don't know whether they've left Ghana, but they used to be they've left. Yeah. So what they used to do was to source products online and supply them. So they find partners. So filling station they set up. So they go and drop the thing there. You go and pick. And they did good business. But sometimes you actually need a physical location. What I have found, and which is why I talk about businesses that are folding up and all of that, what I found is that not a lot of businesses are able to sell in their locations. And so if you go and you have to pay rent of, say, 1,000 a month, and you are supposed to pay 2 years advance, that's going to suck up your entire capital and becomes very, very difficult. So my advice to you would be that if your location is not an advantageous location for visibility, which is important, then what you do is look for locations where the cost is very minimal to manage, so that you can keep that as your store where you keep your material and do a lot more online stuff and supply. so that you can, so if, for example, if you found somebody's obscure corner anywhere and it is safe and you can keep your items there and it is not by the road, the cost will be sometimes twice less the cost that you would have paid for a shop in front of the place. So you need to manage that. Don't replicate too many physical locations unless it is a strategy. That can be a strategy. But if it's not your strategy, don't be in a hurry to pay money to landlords for shops in front of roads where only a handful of people pass there. If you were getting a shop, for example, in a very vantage area and you are paying high for it, and because traffic is high, and not just any traffic. For example, you are selling hair products in a place where school children pass, and only school children pass there. So there will be a lot of human traffic there, but these are all school children. Nobody's going to buy any hair. So you got to be able to do your projections analysis and look at the place and even take data and see. Stand at one place and check in a whole day and see how many adults pass there and do that for a couple of times. That's what we call market research, to be able to establish whether or not this location is a good location. Don't be in a hurry. Also check people who have sold things there. Ask, this shop that is closed, what were they selling? Somebody was trying to sell hair there. The thing didn't work. She closed the shop and went away. And you two have come. The landlord won't tell you that somebody, because he too wants to rent his business. So look around. Ask people around what has been sold here before. And any shop that you find in that neighborhood that is very dehydrated, you can see whether this is a good business to do here or not. A friend of mine he was going abroad, he travels a lot, and his wife said, I want to sell shoes, and they went and took a shop. They paid for 2 years. They brought the shoes inside. Because nobody was buying any shoes. So do that. Salaries. And that dovetails into a very, very complex phenomenon where the first person you employ, the first day they come to work, they want to take your entire capital as their salary. And when you don't give that to them and you don't pay attention, they start stealing. I tell you, church, we have to stop this phenomenon. Otherwise, I'm not sure how many of you have noticed, restaurants, big businesses are now importing Chinese, Lebanese, Indians who are taking care of their businesses. So we say there are no jobs here, but we give the job to somebody and the person wants to make 100 million working, and especially young people, everybody wants. In fact, even to the extent that in the banks, the fraud that happens in the banks, 70-80% of the fraud is perpetrated by the bankers themselves. So, what I'll ask you to do is to make sure that you discuss people's salary expectations before you employ them. Discuss their salary expectations. And let them know that you are not going to be able to collapse your business to take care of them. People must show that they are committed to doing that. And when you find one person who is, one of the models, I don't know whether it works for you. One of the models is to make them a shareholder. If you find one that is very loyal, make them a shareholder of the business. Okay? So we agree. You're going to pay this much. This is our cost. If we're able to cover the cost and we make X amount, you will get Y more. So that it's performance driven. And you can do that. Let them feel part of the business. And also, let's talk nice to people. I've found people who work for people and they are insulted every day. They'll pay you back by stealing your things. Yeah, so be nice. If we see business, the two of us have come. We see the business is not good. Me, I've gone to take, I bought roasted plantain and I'm eating. You have gone to take fufu, you are eating. We are chofi. Or very would you be? So let's be humane towards people that, especially as Christians, to people that we employ and all of that. If things are good, dash them something. Commend them when they do good. Not only when they do bad. Commend them when they do good. Say nice things about them when they do good. Find out about their families when where the families are, how the family is like, and all of that. Greet them nice. Check on their health, and all of that. When they are away, call them, find out. Let them see that you love them, right? That's the only time that they will love your business. So I think that should help us. Pre-financing government contract. Typically, government contracts should give you what we call mobilization. Typically. So our new building, when we started, we gave the contractor 23 million as mobilization. So G23 million. Is it 23 or 33 million? G20 first 30. So they didn't have to put their money in. And as they submit to us, IPCs, we deduct that from it gradually. That's what government projects used to be like. Unfortunately, governments have now developed the appetite of asking contractors to pre-finance projects. And if you are not a businessman who already has a huge backbone, that's the end of your business because you pre-finance the business. If, for example, you go and take a loan, 33% interest, you pre-finance the business, you finish. 2-3 years, you haven't been paid. You are gone. And that's why it is important that business people invest in establishing relationships also, because it takes just the minister to decide that they should give you mobilization. And then they will give you. It takes a good relationship to be able to get a facility somewhere and all of that. But otherwise, it's difficult to deal with it. It's difficult to deal with it. I'm not too sure how our governments have a penchant for designing and delivering projects when they don't pay for it. It is the reason why the projects are very expensive, because you have to cost your interest and cost the number of years you are going to stay without getting it. But it just kills businesses. It just kills businesses. I would, in fact, once you brought this up, I'm going to initiate a conversation with government on this, because it has to stop. We are not. So if you check, you see that the foreign contractors are the ones getting the contract. Because somebody in Turkey can get a loan at 1% interest. Then they will bring the money and come and run it. And they will bring it in dollars, and they are going to pay them in dollars. So they don't actually suffer the kind of difficulties we suffer if you are going to borrow the money in CDs, and your CD is running like a mad person. It's a difficult thing. But I think what is important then will mean that businesses that must enter into those areas must develop a certain level of capital. How do you get that capital is another problem. But developing capital, making sure that you can, partner. If you can partner foreigners, for example, Chinese businesses, for example, Turkish businesses, Lebanese businesses, if you can partner them and they will bring in the resources, the better. Thank you.
Okay. Papa, thank you so much for the insights. And I want to find out, I'm a small financial institution.
Okay.
How do I get government contracts?
Okay. Financial institution.
Yes, please.
What do you do?
It's a Susu company.
A Susu company?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, please. Okay, follow up. Okay.
So, Prof, I really appreciate the way you have exposed us to the whole ecosystem of working with the governments. Now, I don't know how many people who have succeeded in working with government institutions will be willing to coach some of us here. Otherwise, they may be thinking, I'm sharing my business secrets. So I don't know how possible that can be. It's just a follow-up to what she asked.
Yes, so microfinance. So there are a number of things you can do. If you go to, government has microfinance institutions. Maslock, for example, is one of them, where they give small microcredit to. Other times, you would have governments wanting to deliver certain specific activities to groups of communities. Oftentimes, women's groups have had a significant amount of support from that. Currently, there is MasterCard Foundation is working with the Absa Bank, for example, where they've given a lot of money to Absa Bank to give to microfinance institutions. To give to women groups. So for microfinance institutions, what you may want to do is to provide intermediation services. Now, intermediation services is service of, government wants to give something to communities or to women. You are a microfinance institution and you already have a network of women or groups that you've been working with. You can pitch to government and say, look, we have this network of women we have worked with for 7 years, 5 years. We know their businesses. We know what they do. We know where they live. We know what. So if you want to be able to have high recovery rates, channel the resources through us, and then we can get a commission out of it. That's one of the things that you can do. Or else you need to look for development grants. So like I said, MasterCard Foundation, Ghana Enterprises Agency is the government. They used to be called NBSSI, National Board for Small Scale Industries. Now they've changed them to Ghana Enterprises Agency. And Ghana Enterprises Agency is the government agency for dealing with small, medium enterprises. So, and they usually will have a lot of resources that they give out to women's groups. One of their biggest challenges is ability to track and to get the money back. So if you can show that your microfinance has a very good reputation, there are two things you can do. It's either they want to give you the money for on lending at no interest, or they will give you money at low interest rate so that you don't have to borrow from the bank, for example, and then you can then lend on to the women at a reduced interest rate. And because you have a good recovery rate, you can recover the money a lot more. Those are two ways that I think you can. Otherwise, what you could also do is to get government grants that are meant for example, when there was COVID, government actually gave grants. So they dashed literally money to people, and all of that. Sometimes you need to know a few people around here or there to be able to speak to them and to get through. But if you position yourself well and you have especially good records, many times, and please note this, when politicians do political things, they also are looking for things that they can hide on. So when they are wanting to, for example, give money to their own supporters, they will do. But in there, they are always looking for one or two credible other individuals or people who they can give the money to and who they will use as evidence that the thing is working. So they will give 100 free, but they want. So you can always qualify to be one of those credible people who they will want to use because you are doing the right things. So they will give you that money. They will share some people won't pay, but they know that as for you, they can use you. And that's what Maslock did in the past. They will give a few CDs to a few people who they know will not pay, but they will deal with others who they know would pay. And then you are able to do that. So you can get those grants and all of that. Read the government's budget. There are a number of initiatives, including youth, women's, and those things. Some of it are sector specific, where they will be looking to pass on resources to people. Oftentimes, they would ask you, do you belong to us? Do you belong to us? Before they do. But you don't always have to identify to be able to access. You can access. Thank you very much. Coaches, yes. There are people who are willing to share their experiences. also, oftentimes, they will share their experiences in their professional groupings and trade associations. So that's why I encourage that please make sure you belong to those trade associations. You can have access to people who have worked many years with government and have succeeded and all of that. It's not a soft terrain. It's a very tough terrain. For example, you meet a minister that says, oh, we can give you this, but you have to bring this back. And that takes us to the conversation that we had earlier. Yeah, we can give you a 10 million project, but you have to bring 2 million back to us. Now, if you are into construction, then that's already a big dip into your construction quality. And that will give you problems. So you have to be able to navigate that very carefully on how you can deal with politicians without getting into trouble. But there are definitely people who want to share. There are no trade secrets. In fact, in today's world, there's a lot more advocacy for partnerships than competition. Of course, when there's a contract and you are all looking to, there will be competition. But I've seen many people who win contracts and they are not able to deliver them. There are people who have partnered others and they have got one contract and they have been able to deliver them. There are those that, so if you could go into partnership with people who have, for example, machinery and they are not getting the contract, and you have the contract, it reduces how much of the money you have to spend because then you are using idle resources to support the business to grow and all of that. But there are definitely people who are willing to share their experiences working with government. They will show you all the tricks. In fact, there's a young man in my class, one of the classes that I teach for procurement and supply chain. I teach them project management. And then he says, Prof, this is what, and then he tells all the stories about how they call him and say, look, we want to give you the contract, you must play ball, and all of that. And I ask him, so how do you do? He say, yeah, in some cases I play ball, other times I don't play ball, and all of that. It's a very complex terrain. The reason why I don't want to join mainstream politics, but I'm encouraging you, please enter there because we have to be able to sanitize that environment. And on that note, what else can I say but to say thank you and God bless all of us. Amen.
Please, let's kindly appreciate Papa. Let's be upstanding as we appreciate him and as he takes his seat. Prof, God bless you. We are very grateful. When we can sit, we can take our seat, please. When Prof took the mic and they projected a topic, I realized that I just thought to myself, this is a very good information we are going to be receiving because you will need to research very well before you get this information. And I know those who join us online and are not here physically and are serious, they may even go ahead than most of us in terms of the reception of the information. And so as we started from the beginning, we want you to trace through the presentation what is being said, how you can apply it, and then why. And so we just finished how to design the opportunities we have in our countries with the new government. And so that's the what in this presentation is there are real opportunities available now for all of us. And then the how, Prof gave us positioning tips, things we can do now to position ourselves to tap into these opportunities. And then he made a beginning statement, which is the why we must all go for these opportunities. And that is because governments work with private sector. And they spend, at least they give 70% of all their expenditure goes to private sector people. What it means to us is that we can start now. Now I'm wondering if you are here and you have already registered your business, you are working with EPA and all those government agencies, you are complying with all those relevant bodies, you are safe. If you are here, you are now starting. You don't even have an idea. It means you should be planning from now to the next 5 to 10 years, positioning yourself to be a partner with government. I mean, to go into partnership with governments. And so please, don't let this information just slip off. As I said from the beginning, some are just here waiting to just be asking in their mind, so what next? We are done. What next? The next information, what next? And that's not what we are doing here. If you are serious and you are burning with an idea within you, please take this and go and sit down and chew them over and over. I think we have learned a lot today. We have a SNET person here to share something with us. And so I know most of us will want to hear something from the SNET office. And so we want to receive Mr. Kwesi Befi. Let's put our hands together to receive Mr. Kweku Befi. Yes. Oh, please appreciate him as he comes here. Sir, thank you so much for being with us.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kwesi Befi, and I think most of my work has been done already because Prof said you need to pay SNET, and he's the dean, so when he talks, we listen. So the work is virtually done. But I think for all of us, we need to understand the reasons why we need to pay SNET. Okay? So, do we know what pensions are? It's going to be very interactive. Does anybody know what pensions are? I just need you to raise your hand if you know pensions. What pensions are? Okay. Do we know any good things about SNET? Raise your hands. Okay, you are all not my friends. But today, by the time that we leave, we should all know at least one good thing about SNET. Okay? So, pensions. Over the years, people have had various ways in which they've managed their pensions. In the past, our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers, some of them had farms. Some of them had businesses, right? So that at some point in time, they employ people to work on those farms. And then when they are tired and they can't work anymore, that serves as their pension. Some people even went to the extent of giving birth to a lot of children to serve as their pension, so that at least one of them will take care of them. But I don't know if that works in this day and age. But over the period here in Ghana, we've had various ways in which pensions have been managed. The most recent being the change in pensions. We had a huge shake-up in pensions somewhere in 2008, where we had the new Pensions Act 766/2008. Now, this is the basis on which all pensions are managed in Ghana. Okay, so now this Pensions Act 766/2008 just says that instead of giving all of our pensions to SNET to manage, as was the case in the past, now we've segregated it into 3 tiers of pension. So we hear people saying tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. I think we've heard that before, right? Great. It is as a result of this new Pensions Act 766. So we'll talk briefly about it and then we'll get into the SNET proper. So the Pensions Act 766 says there are 3 tiers of pension. 2 of them are compulsory for every worker here in Ghana. So the first 2 tiers, let's see how those ones are managed. So let's say I'm an employee. I work for a company. As an employee, at the end of the month, my employer calculates 13% of my basic salary and contributes toward my pension. So that money comes from the employer. I'm sorry, those who know math, you'll be helping me a bit. So 13% from the employer. Then out of the employee's salary, a deduction of 5.5% is made. So we put the 5.5 and the 13% together. How much do we get? 18.5. Now, out of that 18.5%, 13.5% of that is sent to SNET. And that is your tier 1. Then the remaining 5%, out of the 18.5, we took 13.5. So now we have 5% left. The 5% that is left is then sent to a private corporate trustee. And that is your tier 2. So private corporate trustees are basically just entities or organizations that have been mandated to also manage pensions. But these ones are private. Okay, so those are private corporate trustees. So they manage tier 2. So out of the 18.5, 13.5% comes to SNIT, 5% goes to the corporate trustee. Now you have an additional 16.5% that you can use as your providence fund or your tier 3. So the tier 3, for that one, it is not mandatory. So you can't force an employer to pay tier 3 for you. It is optional. So you decide, or the organization decides whether or not they want to pay their tier 3. So those are the 3 tiers of pension. Okay. Now, like I mentioned, SNIT manages tier 1. Now, SNIT manages tier 1 in 2 categories. Either you are a self-employed person or you are a formal sector worker. So formal sector, basically you work for somebody else, right? So the person is mandated to pay your pensions for you. Please let's note that paying of pensions or paying of your tier 1 is not optional. So sometimes you hear people say, when I went to negotiate, I'm sorry, but it is not optional. It is a need. You need to pay your tier 1. Okay? So you either pay as a formal sector worker, in which based on the negotiation you had with your employer, a calculation is made on your basic salary and then it is remitted to SNIT every month. However, for those who are also self-employed, they also have the opportunity to be able to make contributions towards SNIT. Now, before you give your money to somebody or your money goes somewhere, you definitely want to know what exactly that money is going to do for you, true or false? Okay. So what are some of the benefits that as a SNIT contributor you can get? Now, the very first one is old age pension. What old age pension basically means is that you've worked your whole life, you've gone on retirement. The statutory retirement age in Ghana is 60 years. You can go on voluntary retirement when you are 55. And then also, if you are engaged in hazardous work, you can go on retirement when you are 50. So let's say you've gone on retirement. Now you can't work as hard as you used to anymore, or you are not in formal employment. Then SNIT comes in to pay you every single month until you pass on. Please, do we get it? Every single month until you pass on. And I always use my father as an example. That's why when I'm going anywhere, I don't take him, because I don't know if after that you still say I'm a son. But my father went on retirement at 60. He's 84 now. So it means that he's been taking SNIT payments for how many years? 24. I've even used the man for insurance. Still, it's not. He's still working. He's still very, very strong. I've used him for insurance. I've been paid and paid and paid. So for 24 whole years, this man has been taking his pension every single month. So that is what we call old age pension. Okay, when you are old, you go on retirement and you get your pension. The next benefit, I don't really like saying this word because of where I come from, but I'll try. I'll say it slowly. Invalidity pension. Please, now, do you have an idea where I come from? Invalidity pension. So this is how it works, and I want us to pay attention, exceptional attention to this one. So let's assume I'm a worker. I start working. I've not reached retirement. Let's say I'm 20 years. I start working. By 23, I have some sickness or some accident, and as a result, a certified medical board says, I can't work anymore. What happens to me? Well, SNIT takes over and pays you for the rest of your life. Have we ever heard this? Do we even know this? Okay, let me repeat. You start working. You have an accident. You have a disease. The doctor says you can't work again. So it's not like you have malaria, then you come to us, SNIT, I can't work again, so pay me my money. No. It's something that has taken your livelihood away, such that you can't work again. SNIT pays you for the rest of your life. But there's a caveat. The caveat is that you have to be an active contributor. So when we say an active contributor, if we look at the last 3 years of your contributions, you must have contributed for at least 12 months within that past 3 years. Then you qualify. So once you qualify and you can't work anymore, SNIT pays you for the rest of your life. Now, the interesting thing about it is, even if you haven't contributed for up to 15 years, SNIT assumes that you've contributed for 15 years, and we pay you based on 15 years salary. Please, does it make sense? So I've contributed for only 2 years. Then this incident happened. SNIT will assume that you've contributed for 15 years, and that will be the basis of your payment. Okay. But our sisters, I beg, pregnancy is not part. If you are pregnant, you can't come to us and tell us that you are pregnant, so we should pay your money. That one, it won't work. So that is invalidity. Then how many of us have health insurance? How many of us? Okay. Do you know that as a SNIT contributor, the premium that you pay for your health insurance is reduced by virtue of the fact that you're a SNIT contributor? So when you go, they ask you, oh, she's my friend. Please, let's clap for her. She's my friend. See, she said something for me. When you go, they ask you, do you pay SNIT? And based on that, they give you a reduced premium that you have to pay, right? So that is also for health. And then finally, we have survivor's benefits. So for survivor's benefits, when you are filling your SNIT forms, we ask you, who do you want to use as your beneficiary? In case you are not there. They're not there simply means you've passed on. Okay? So you give us names of people that you want to use who should take over that money when you have passed on. And when you pass on, we give those monies to them. Please mind you, if you have a child who is below 18 years and you do not add them to your beneficiary list, we will look for them and add them. And we will give them up to 60% of your benefits. The reason being that, as much as possible, in the spirit of the law, women and children are protected the most, right? So we are trying to protect the children. So please, if you have children, you add them to your beneficiary list. Okay, that is if they are below 18. And then that does not mean that if they are above 18, you can't give them something small. You can give them something. But if they are below 18, you give them up to 60%, and then you share the rest amongst others. Okay. And you can change the beneficiary list as and when you want. I know a man, whenever he's angry, he comes to the Senate office. He's coming to change. So you don't pick an argument. If you pick a fight with him, it means you are leaving his Senate beneficiary list. So we don't pick fights with him. So please, you can also change that. And we encourage everybody to change or to update their records as and when. Okay. So both as organizations and as individuals, we have the opportunity to be able to benefit from all of these numerous things that we've spoken about. Now, it's very simple. Nowadays, you don't have to walk all the way to the Senate office for us to register you. Just like we've come here today. You have many of our officers going around talking to people. We have mobile devices with which we can register you with. If you are an organization here, you haven't yet registered with SNIT, all you have to do is come downstairs to our booth. We'll be more than happy to register you. And even as individuals who are self-employed, who also want to join our SNIT schemes, please, we are more than welcoming you to come downstairs so that we register you. And so SNIT is for everybody. It's for all of us. And so I would just encourage everybody to try to sign on to Tier 1 by signing on to SNIT. I think at this point, I don't know if we're allowed to take some questions. Okay, but let me look for where the air conditioner is. Let me stand under it, because if the heat is coming. You heard all the people they introduced. Professor this, Prophet that. My name is just Kwesi Befi. So please, have mercy on me. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I am a retiree on the Senate monthly allowance. Number one, it seems the retirees on the Senate, we don't have people who speak on our behalf. We don't have people who speak for us. The reason why I'm saying this, when COVID happened, Workers' Front agitated. They had COLA, 25%. Senate, nobody spoke for us. And up to now, even for the 4 years or so that COVID, we struggled with COVID, nothing. That's my first question. I have a series of questions for you. So that's my first question. Who speaks for Senate? Number two, we don't even know how you compute our lump sum or whatever you pay to us. Some of us have to go and fight before they make some corrections. All that we know that you take the best 3 years of whatever it is. How you compute it, we don't know. You just credit account buy. Sometimes when we go, we see when we go before you make some corrections. So that's the second question. Number three, every January there's a yearly increase. And you say 12% of this plus something, and you call it 15%. I think this year that's what happened. And we don't know how, you get that formula. Last question. When you are migrating from the tier 1, tier 2, and tier all those things, whatever it is, I didn't fall into that group. I had gone out of it. Because of my colleagues. And because we have a retirees association, and I happen to be part of the national executive, we have to be moving up and down. I even remember I went to the, what do we call it, at REACH. There's a pension regulatory body there. I was under a lot of pressure to go and work for it. Some of them, their monies, I think they were short. I don't want to use the word short change. Their monies remain, I think they were, when we were offloading them to the scheme managers, some of the monies got mixed up. Some of them were short change. And we had to go and, as at now, they brought us a list of some of our members whose monies were, and they had to go through a lot of process. They haven't got their monies still. So what is Senate doing about all these things for us? Thank you very much.
So please, that's the only question we will take. Their booth is downstairs. We have one question online. She's Margaret. She says, what will happen to someone who has worked in Ghana but is no more here, has worked and contributed consistently between 3 to 5 years? And so what will happen to their benefits because they are no more working in the economy again? Thank you.
Okay. So before I take the WAEC exam, because this one is an exam. Okay. So first thing, if you look at the constitution of the SNITS board, as per the law, and please let me just issue 2 disclaimers. First of all, SNITS is not the only entity that manages pensions in Ghana. And so for some of the things you've asked, I would direct you to the appropriate quarters where you can seek redress. Okay. When you look at the law and the way our board is set up, there are places for members or nominated individuals from the Pensioners Association on the board. Now, everything that SNITS does is based on, of course, the regulation from the Pensions Act 766, our regulators, like you mentioned, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, and then the SNITS board. So everything that we do is guided by these principles. Now, like I said, if you look at the constitution of that board, you have members of the Pensioners Association on that board. And as a result, if there are any challenges that the Pensioners Association faces, we would typically expect that they would be channeled through those members who sit on the board so that they can be addressed as and when. So with regard to who speaks for the pensioners, and not only that, I know that our director generals from time to time have meetings with pensioners associations just to ask them and speak to them about what sort of challenges they have, what they think we can do better. And I must admit that being a human institution, we may not necessarily always get things right. But of course, with feedback like what you've just mentioned from you, it makes it easier for us to be able to correct some of our processes so that you do not have to go through the stress or hustle and bustle that you may have previously gone through. So with regard to who speaks for you, that is where we will say that you have representation on the board. So that's the first one. With regard to the money you spoke about, that when we're doing the migration, it is true. In 2010, when the actual implementation of the Act began, we didn't have any corporate trustees or private entities. So organizations were still told to pay their Tier 2 and their Tier 3 at SNIT. However, we were just keeping it in an account known as the TPFA, or Temporary Pensions Fund Account. So at the time, SNIT was just serving as a collection point, not that we were managing it. Now that TPFA, like you rightly mentioned, as you went to MPRA, it is regulated and managed by MPRA through other private entities. And so if anybody wants to seek any sort of redress with regard to the TPFA, which is the Temporary Pensions Fund accounts like you mentioned, then the person has to address their concerns through the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. Now, with regard to calculating your pensions or your benefits, the offices of SNIT are very, very open. Now, if anybody has any issues or any problems with their pensions calculations, you can always walk into any SNIT office where you'll be directed to the appropriate quarters, the people who take care of benefits, so that even if it means you have to sit with them for the calculation to be done for you to see, then it is done. But there are a number of factors that are considered when the calculation of your benefits are being done. Like you mentioned, the average of the best 3 years of your work life is considered. Then the number of months contribution that you made is considered. Then the contributions that you were making is also considered. Now, when all of this is done, an average is struck, and this gives you between 37.5% and 60% of your original salary. Now, 37.5% being the minimum, it means that if you've worked for the minimum 15 years, which is what you need in order to qualify for pension, then you are at 37.5%. With every extra year that you work, you get an extra percentage. And then what it means is that it is capped at 60%. Okay, so that is basically how the calculation is done. However, like I've mentioned, our offices are always open. So if anybody has any issues or any qualms with how the calculations were done, you can just walk into our offices and we'll be more than happy to go through it with you so that you know that this is how we calculated and that the money that is hitting your accounts is actually correct. In recent times, what we've done is that we are partnering with churches, for instance. So the Pentecost Church is one of them, where we are going to all the Pentecost churches to speak to them about SNIT, to speak to them about pensions. And so I'm sure very soon we'll bring a letter here, whereby we will come for one service, we'll speak to people about SNIT. If there are any questions, we take them, so that some of us are educated on some of these things, and then we know exactly what to do. With regard to working for 3 to 5 years, and then leaving the country. Now, the law stipulates that you need to be working in the jurisdiction of Ghana for you to make contributions. And so if you are not working in Ghana, you can't continue making contributions. However, the money that you've contributed already still exists. It is not lost. And so what is going to happen is when you reach 60 years, we will check the number of months that you've contributed. If you've contributed for the minimum 15 years, which is 180 months, then you get a full pension, which means that we pay you every month up until you pass on. However, if you didn't meet the minimum 15 years, then we give all your money to you together with interest as a one-time payment, and then we are done with you. So that is basically how it works. I think we've exhausted our time, and so we'll still be downstairs. Most of our officers will also be around coming to talk to people. If you have any questions, any issues, if you want to register, again, we are encouraging, like Prof mentioned, when you are going for government contracts and you need to tender, they will ask you for your clearance certificates, your SNIT clearance certificates. And that is only dependent on if you've been paying your SNIT frequently. My manager is at the back. If you don't pay, he won't sign the CC for you. So please, we are encouraging every company to try and register with Senate. If you are an individual also, please try and register with us. The registration is free. We do not take any sort of money for it. And so at this point, I think we'll end. And then thank you very much for having us.
I think there is no payment for attaching professorship to your name. So Professor Befi, let's put our hands together for him. All right, Professor, thank you. We want to give an opportunity for GRE, just 3 minutes, GRE. And we've been told that there are benefits in paying tax. We may not know. Let's receive Brother Felix to give us a 3 minutes presentation from GRE. Please be fast a bit for us. Thank you.
Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Felix, and I'm your friend. The only taxman who is a friend to all of you. Please, I would like to come down so that I'll just have to interact with you, right? Most of the time, when we hear about tax, right, we are all worried about how much the government is taking from us. But yes, we are supposed to pay tax. I didn't really prepare for this discussion, but I realized that as we are here, you must also know some benefit that you can get from being a taxpayer. So that is what I want to share with you. How many of us have heard about tax relief? How many of us are employees? And how many of us are self-employed? A lot of us over here. So basically all of us here are either self-employed or are employees somewhere. And we are giving government money, right? But because you are giving government money as an employee or self-employed, there are some relief that you are supposed to get. And the relief is just supposed to reduce your burden. It's not a big money, right? But it is still what? Money. Even if it's 100 Ghana cedis, I say, why? It can help me buy my data. What do I lose? So we want to share with you, I want to share with you some basic tax relief that you can enjoy. And the process of applying it to is not cumbersome. As our professor rightly mentioned, comply with the law, but then I also added that where there is a benefit in there, go for it. It's not for special people, it's for all Ghanaians. So I want to discuss with just tax relief with all of you, then direct you to how you can go for it, right? But before I proceed, please take your pen and paper and write these numbers down. 0800 900 110. So that's the GRA toll-free number, right? There are also mobile numbers that you can reach to 020 926 7047 or 48 or 49. So these are numbers you can reach out to when you have any tax-related issue. You can also reach them through info@gra.gov.gh. info@gra.gov.gh. So if you hear any tax-related issue and you just want to know about it, sit behind your computer, just open the mail, set it up, write your mail, and ask the question, right? Prof was saying that you should be tax compliant. The process you are supposed to go through. How do you even go about registration? But today I didn't come to talk about registration. I didn't come to talk about it. It's about what? Your relief. Now, the basic one that you can enjoy. How many of us are married over here? Yes. By virtue of the fact that you are married and you are taking care of your spouse, there's a tax relief for you. Just by virtue of the fact that you are married and you are taking care of your spouse, there's a what? A tax relief for you. How many of us have kids or are taking care of kids, either adopted or your own case? By virtue of the fact, do you get it, that you have a kid or you are taking care of kids, you also qualify for what? Some tax relief. How many of us have gone for loan or mortgage? How many of us have gone for mortgage to build our own personal residence? A private residence that you are living in? Well, the hands are few. But then, by virtue of having a mortgage on a personal property that you are living into, qualify you. Do you get it? How many of us are taking care of our parents? Aged dependencies. Over 60 years and above. So by virtue of those ones, do you have what? Relief. And permit me to say, Grandpa is here. If Grandpa decides to take unemployment, anybody over 60 years who takes unemployment, by virtue of the fact that you're over 60 years and you're doing unemployment, you are just in unemployment, because of just that you are over 60 years, you have some tax relief, right? So I want to share with you the figures, then we can proceed from there, right? So when it comes to the marriage, you have 1,200 per year. 1,200 cedis. Just because you're taking care of your spouse. Now the children, up to 3. 600 Ghana cedis per child. Which you can enjoy. 600 per child. If you have people dependent on you, that's 1,000 cedis per dependent for 2. For the mortgage, you have to show evidence of the interest you are paying. Even educational relief, 2,000 cedis per year. Right? So sometimes I tell people, simple calculation. When you take your spouse, 1,200 cedis, you have 3 kids, 600 each. That's what, 1,800. Is that not it? When you add, it's not 3,000. Right? If you had parents that are dependent on you, 2,000. If you add, it's 5,000. Is that not it? That's for the whole year. When you divide it, assuming we even want to cap it at 4,800, when you divide it by 12, it's what? 400 cedis. So then what it means is that when you are going to take your salary and you enjoy all of it, 400 cedis of your income will not be taxed. So the relief is that instead of maybe if you are earning 1,000 Ghana cedis and GRA is supposed to tax 1,000 cedis, all the 1,000 cedis, because of the relief you are enjoying, 400 cedis of your amount will not be taxed. Is that not okay? Assuming it is 25%, that means that you are getting back what? 100 Ghana cedis for you for free. That is why I mentioned earlier on that. Imagine you are getting this money back. Government would have taken it, but you are getting it back to use for yourself. Right? So there is more information about it on the gra.gov.gh. That's the GRA website. So you can go there, and when you want the form, you can just Google it. Tax relief form. And when you want to apply for it, attach any relevant document. If it's your aged parent, show by ID. If it's education, show by certificate. If it's a mortgage, show by the relevant document. If it's child, show by the school. Right? Please, our time is fast spent, so I have to wrap up now. Right? Thank you very much for your time, and God bless us all.
Thank you, Mr. Felix. I think I asked the question on pre-financing government projects. Prof is having a very simple information for us. Please, let's listen to him.
So I forgot to mention the issue of insurance when you have to pre-finance government projects. So when you get a government project that you're supposed to pre-finance and you have to go to the bank and take a loan, you can take an insurance policy to cover the loan. Now, when government doesn't pay, the insurance company will pay for the project, the cost of the project, and then they will take up the responsibility to chase government for what that means is that when you are costing your project and it's a project you're going to pre-finance, you have to charge the insurance premium because you have to pay the insurance premium to the insurance company so that in the case of default, then government will pay. So that's the thing about pre-financing that I think I should mention that I forgot to mention. Thank you.
We appreciate you so much, Prof. We are about ending. Thank you so much, all of you. We have been seated for long. we have the second part of the program. That's the exhibition downstairs. We have some small businesses downstairs who have exhibited their products, and we want to just mention them. I think I don't have to skip some of them. So we will mention them. They have, some are under the canopy, some also are in their booth. Please, let's take note of these companies or organizations or small businesses. Shalom Hair Pomade Venture. Gifts Special Tom Brown. Very Perf Engineering Services. EP Eyes Clothing. Norana Flora and Decor. Appointed Time Printing. MPJ Enterprise. Bonim's Books and Stationaries. Millennium Insurance Company. Obama Mami Second-Hand Clothing. 52 Weeks Susu Enterprise. Enterprise Life Assurance Policies. Phoenix Juice. Fashion Capital Ghana. Le Mange Local Bar and Snacks. Royal Viv Skin Care Spa. Pleasant Place. Million Makeup Artistry. Glampers Shoe Hub. Yeps Men Wear. Bobina Solutions. Royal Afrique Creations. Lady Indolin Ventures. Daddy's Clothing. Rosak Enterprise and Viroka Pharmacy Limited. Snits. Frame Base Limited. Adepa Organic Foods. K2 Ghana. Extasia Events and Ushering Agency. Asokore in Mampong Concrete Products. Theotech Global Communication. Glitz Wicks. Lee's Ventures. Esther Okran Enterprise. Mami Anan Enterprise. Grace Cat Group of Companies. Elizabeth Mensa Enterprise. AJ Mellin Venture. Crunchy Pops. Porsche's Trends. Belinda Fashion Home. Tia. Is it Tie and Dye? Okay, Tie and Dye or Tie Dye. Phil's Beauty Parlor and Cosmetics. Victoria Saloon. Janet Enterprise. Akbi Naturals. Yadim Jewelries. Giant Meds. Saran Lags. Deluxe's Kitchen. Macan Enterprise. Erickson Clothing. Mercy Grocery Store. Handmade Treasures. Roundbox Media. Tilly's Clothing and Accessories. Fragrance.door. Fruits Baby Shop and more. Patapex Imports. Dexter Electronics Limited. Sisinana Ama Enterprise. Yeps Food. Juice and Pastries Boutique. Julie Foods. Grace Cafe and Bistro. Trulanda JSF Limited. Pep Master Foods Limited. Lamarck Logistic Limited. Angie's Thrifts. JA Plant Pool. D&M Garment Ghana Limited. SJJ Anel Enterprise. Food vendors, various food vendors, and then Grace Food Lounge. All right, so we have about 75 and all right, please, let's do ourselves a great favor. Just go downstairs and then please go around. I mean, exhibition periods are not so much necessarily for sales, but just get to know what is there and familiarize yourself, know someone. And I think we'll start the networking properly there. We've been very, very attentive, responsive, and also participatory in the session today. God richly bless all of us. We want to welcome Elder Pepra to give us the closing remark. Let's appreciate Elder Pepra.
Oh, I know you are tired, but we can do better unto the Lord. So, on Thursday, Professor TK was here, and I'm just trying to go through quickly. He raised one important thing: integrity. And he made mention of the fact that he didn't start business with money. So let's do away with this money issue. Your integrity can be a currency. It can be capital. It can be equity. And he said, start with what you have. What you have, he mentioned time. You have time. Equity. So time and equity, time and integrity can be an equity for you to start some business. Don't be afraid to start. And with respect to his doing your business beyond politics, he said, don't be aligned. The non-aligned movement. Very, very important. Professor Dateba also made mention of ethics, integrity. Ethics, integrity. We keep going and coming back to these same points. And he made us understand that there is money looking for people of integrity. So let's also play our roles there properly. He also made mention of Professor Bawole is here. He's giving us different perspective. And let's give it up to all the professors who came. Yes. Professor Bawole, we are very, very, very grateful once again. I know Apostle has spoken, but in fact, these numbers that you saw here, if you go and see Prof in his office, I'm sure you will pay dollars. But you've paid nothing. He's giving you where you should position yourself, what you should be looking out for. And he's even led us. In fact, I've seen some of the numbers, but with him throwing them at me, I feel very close to those numbers. Like I said, 226 billion media womb, like I'm seeing that my portion is inside. So we will be moving to the next level. Prof, I think when you made mention of your innovation hub, I was talking to some of my people and they said, yeah, the proposal about Bawole. Then we see how best the team can lift some of the young businesses up through a structured program. Because there's a gentleman who was sitting at the back, and he feels now encouraged to go and attack some of this money. But maybe somebody will say, how do I get there? And I'm sure with that partnership over a period, we can work some of them out. How many of us would like that? Yes, so all the hands are up. So that maybe that will be the next phase of the relationship with Prof and his team. Because you see, and I was saying, your brains I feel close to it. So you just have to help us. All right. And we've also learned a lot from the Senate team. And then we've also learned a lot from the GRA team. Now, tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow is another day. From here, we'll go to the exhibition. And the exhibitors, don't be worried about today. Tomorrow is the biggest day. Because tomorrow, all the church will come down. All the church will be down there. We are over almost 1,000 people in this church. Everybody will be down there. That is one. And two, like Apostle said, we are going all over the country, which Pen TV will be here. And they'll be taking everything that we are doing live. This one, you should be giving you invoice. But again, it is for free. So don't close shop. Just for tomorrow, if you are even somewhere, you worship somewhere, I'm not saying come and join my church. If you come, I'm happy, but I'm not doing that. You can ask for permission, come and do your exhibition. When you get your money, go and pay it. Your title or I'm doing some exhibition somewhere to promote the business. When I get the money, I'll come and pay tithe. It is still the same kingdom of God. Hallelujah. But tomorrow, don't miss out. Don't miss out. So on behalf of the leadership, I would also want to say a big thank you for coming. Without your presence, the program wouldn't have been a success. And there's a research that says that usually when we have events like this, it is only between 2 to 3% of people who take advantage of everything that has been said. 2. I said 2. 2 and 5% of people take advantage of all that has been said. I intentionally say it because I don't want us to be part of the 98 to 95% of the people. Let's push ourselves to be part of the 2 to 3%. So the next project we'll be launching ourselves in is with Prof and his team. We are also trying to get Prof to get us somebody who is very, very experienced in securing funding. In fact, she was supposed to be part of the team, but for one or two things, she wasn't able to come. How do you secure funding to grow your business? There's a lot of money around, but if you don't also know where to find it, Professor Bawole is helping us to secure that. Let's give it again to Prof. Prof, I think you need a seat in Graceland. I think, how many of us will agree to that? Prof, look at all the people. So Prof is helping us to get somebody who is going to help us. And then I think the next thing is also to get people from the PPA, the